Is humanity experiencing a collective amnesia regarding its own past? Beneath the very soil we walk upon today, does a secret world history lie hidden? One that is never told in official textbooks. Modern science tells us that evolution is a slow, accidental process spanning millions of years. However, when we turn the dusty pages of history, specifically the ancient clay tablets and cylinder seals of Mesopotamia, we encounter a completely different, soul-shaking claim. Today, in this video prepared with the help of artificial intelligence, we are using the power of technology to embark on a unique journey to ancient ages and the heart of primordial secrets. The Sumerians, that mysterious people who discovered writing, the wheel, mathematics, laws, and astronomy, seemingly overnight. They claimed they owed this incredible knowledge not to their own brilliance, but to beings they called the Anunnaki. In Sumerian, this term means those who from heaven to earth came. Were these beings merely mythological figures created by the imagination of a primitive people? Or were they genetic engineers from a superior civilization originating from the distant corners of our solar system, perhaps thousands of light years away? Today, based on the revolutionary theories of Zecharia Sitchin, we will examine in detail the mystery of the planet Nibiru, the first colonies established for gold mining, that famous intervention in human DNA, and the epic wars among the gods themselves. Fasten your seatbelts, because today you are embarking on a journey where you will question everything you thought you knew about history. Our story begins in 1976, when researcher Zecharia Sitchin, of Azerbaijani descent, shook the world with the publication of his work, The 12th Planet. Sitchin was no ordinary popular science writer. He was one of the rare individuals in the world capable of fluently reading and interpreting Sumerian cuneiform and Akkadian. He had dedicated 30 years to analyzing thousands of tablets in the British Museum and other major institutions. Sitchin's claim was that the Babylonian creation epic, known as Enuma Elish, was not actually a work of literature, but a cosmology report describing the formation of the solar system. According to him, the wars of the gods described in this epic were actually depictions of planetary collisions, and at the center of this battle was a massive celestial body, Nibiru. According to the Sumerians, there were 12 celestial bodies in our solar system, including the sun and the moon. They knew about planets we only discovered in the 20th century, thousands of years ago. However, there was an extra member on the list. Sitchin called this 12th member Nibiru, meaning the planet of the crossing. According to Sitchin's theory, Nibiru was a planet with a highly elliptical and wide orbit that entered our solar system from the outside. One full orbit around the sun took exactly 3,600 years. The Sumerians called this immense period of time a sar. According to the epic, when Nibiru entered the solar system, it collided with a giant water-filled planet called Tiamat. As a result of this collision, Tiamat split in two. One part shattered to form the hammered bracelet, or the asteroid belt, while the other part was hurled into a new orbit to become the Earth we live on today. This theory offered a staggering perspective, explaining why the Earth has a massive depression like the Pacific Ocean, and why the asteroid belt is located where it is. Why would these superior beings leave their comfortable planet and come to a primitive and wild world like ours? The answer was, ironically, very similar to our climate crisis today. According to Sitchin, NIBIRU'S atmosphere was thinning and developing holes due to radiation and volcanic activity lasting thousands of years. Heat and life support were escaping into space. NIBIRU'An scientists found a solution: spraying superfine gold dust into the upper layers of the atmosphere to create a radioactive shield. But for this, they needed an element that was not found on their planet, but was abundant on Earth: gold. Gold was not just a tool for wealth. For them, it was the only way to survive. Sumerian texts describe the first group of Anunnaki landing in the region of Eridu, home in the faraway, about 450,000 years ago. This group was led by Enki, the son of the NIBIRU'An king Anu, a wise engineer and scientist. Enki drained the marshes, established the first settlements, and tried to extract gold from the Persian Gulf. However, extracting gold from under the sea was not efficient. The center of the operation had to shift to the actual source of gold, the Abzu mines in South Africa. The Anunnaki were not just aliens. They were a civilization with a very strict military and political hierarchy. At the top of this structure was Anu, the Lord of the Heavens. However, operations on Earth were the stage for a rivalry between two half-brothers, Enlil and Enki. Enlil was Anu's legal heir. He represented authority, order, and storms. His command center on Earth was Nippur. He was a ruthless leader who was always distant from humans, sometimes seeing them as noisy creatures to be destroyed. On the other side was Enki, the Lord of the Earth, a genetic genius. He had a secret admiration for the nature of Earth and the life forms here. The conflict between these Iwo brothers is the foundation of the good and evil, or freedom and obedience polarization in all world religions we know today. Enlil argued that humans should remain merely slaves, while Enki tried to bring them closer to the gods by giving his new creation intelligence, the ability to reproduce, and forbidden knowledge. The theory that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was actually the wise Enki, wanting to awaken humanity, is based precisely on these tablets. For approximately 150,000 years, the lower-class Anunnaki, called Igigi, toiled in the mines of South Africa under the scorching heat. This heavy labor had become unbearable even for these beings who considered themselves immortal. Finally, a major explosion occurred. According to the Atrahasis epic, the Igigi rebelled. They burned their tools and besieged Enlil's palace. The Great Council convened. Enlil wanted the rebels executed, but Enki had a more practical solution. He said, "There is a primitive creature already living on Earth, Homo erectus. Let us stamp it with our own genetic mark, the essence of the gods. Let him be the Lulu Amelu, the mixed being, who will work in our stead." Enki began working with his sister and chief geneticist Ninhursag. This was a biological experiment encoded in ancient texts as mixing clay. They combined a purified essence, DNA, with the egg of the primitive hominid. However, the first attempts were disastrous. Hundreds of mutant creatures appeared, some unable to walk, some blind or missing internal organs. Sumerian tablets describe these failed experiments in vivid detail. Finally, the right combination was found. Anunnaki blood, DNA, merged with the dust of the earth, and Adapa emerged, the first modern human. Adapa could speak, use tools, and understand commands. But there was a problem. He could not reproduce. Enki, without Enlil's knowledge, made a second intervention in the DNA, giving humans the ability to reproduce on their own. This is the scientific code for the expulsion from Eden, because humans had now become a biological species beyond the control of the gods. Did these superior beings leave behind only fables when they left Earth? According to ancient astronaut theorists, physical evidence is standing right before our eyes. Yet we ignore the truth by calling them tombs or temples. The trilithon stones in the foundations of the BAALBEK temple in Lebanon, each weighing over 1,000 tons. Even with today's technology, it is nearly impossible to place these stones so perfectly. Sumerian tablets clearly state that this place was a landing place for the Anunnaki. And the Great Pyramid? Sitchin and engineer Christopher Dunn argue that the pyramid was not a tomb, but a massive power plant. Chemical residues in the Queen's chamber and the acoustic structure of the tunnels strengthened the theory that the pyramid was a Giza power plant used to generate hydrogen-based energy or communicate with Nibiru. What do those mysterious handbags seen in every corner of ancient art represent? Modern geneticists think these bags might have been portable life support units or genetic banks. And what about the devices on their wrists? Why would a Sumerian god wear a watch or a navigation device? Or were these just ornaments? Circa 11,000 BCE, Earth was on the brink of a great catastrophe. Nibiru was about to pass the point closest to Earth in its 3,600-year orbit. But this time, the passage was close enough to disrupt the gravitational balance of the planets. Nibiru's gravitational pull was about to push the massive ice sheets in Antarctica into the ocean. This meant a global flood. Enlil saw this as an opportunity. Humans were too noisy, reproducing uncontrollably, and questioning the authority of the gods. In the Great Council, he said, "We will not warn humanity. Let nature cleanse them." All Anunnaki swore an oath to leave humans to their deaths. However, Enki could not allow his creation, humanity, to be wiped out. He had to warn Zeusudra without breaking his oath. From behind a reed wall, he whispered the plans as if speaking to the wall. Tear down the house, build a ship, take the seeds of every living thing inside. The word seed here translates in modern interpretations to DNA samples. Zeusudra's ship was actually a biological bank. When the flood subsided, the Anunnaki returned to Earth from their spacecraft. Enlil exploded in rage upon seeing the survivors. But once Enki proved that the survival of humanity also meant the survival of the Anunnaki, labor force, agriculture, a new era of humanity was permitted, the era of kingship. The Sumerian king list is a nightmare for historians. At the top of the list, it says, "When kingship lowered from heaven." The list continues, stating that each of the kings before the flood reigned for 20,000 or 30,000 years. Modern historians claim this is symbolic. But what if these kings were actually Anunnaki, living in a 3,600-year orbit, possessing lifespans that lasted thousands of Earth years? Over time, the Anunnaki left the governance of Earth to humans and receded into the background. Perhaps the crisis on their planet had been solved, or perhaps their business with us was finished. But as they left behind the seeds of all civilization. From the Mayan calendar to Egyptian hieroglyphs, to the Vimana flying saucers in Indian Vedas, their footprints are everywhere. Today, astronomers are searching for a massive body at the edge of the solar system, beyond Neptune, called Planet 9. Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin from Caltech mathematically proved that this planet must be there. Could this be the NIBIRU Sitchin talked about 40 years ago? We have reached the end of our story. But perhaps the real story of humanity is just beginning. Are we the result of millions of years of accidental evolution, or are we a worker species, carefully designed and genetically manipulated in someone's lab? Could the mysterious parts of our DNA that we call junk DNA, the function of which is unknown, actually be secret codes left to us by our creators? Whether Zecharia Sitchin's theories are fact or fiction, they remind us of something very important. We may not be alone in this universe, and our origins may be far more magnificent than we imagined. Perhaps one day, our fathers will return. When that day comes, will we be ready?